Welcome to the Deal Factory. I'm your host, Jeff Harkness. The Deal Factory is powered by 3PG Advisors. Each episode, we invite in founders, CEOs, executives that are rapidly scaling their business and their company through the use of institutional capital, both debt and equity. Today in studio, we have founder and CEO Jerry Shill from Schill Landscape Collective. Jerry, welcome to the show. It's great to be in studio. We're going to have some fun today.
Yeah, it's always great to be with you, Jeff. I'm excited to see where we go.
Outstanding. So, first of all, kind of congratulations. An incredible story and run. Back in December, you guys had a successful recap with your now new partner, TrueArc Partners out of New York. You exited your previous private equity relationship with Argon Capital. Shout out to both firms. But the audience is really going to be in for a treat today as we kind of unpack your journey and your story. And you and I have known each other a long time. I think that the first time that we met was through our mutual friend and Hall of Fame consultant, Frank Ross. Shout out to Frank.
Frank and Kevin, yeah.
Kevin Kehoe, Frank Ross. And I think when we met for the first time, we might have been tweaking some KPIs, but you also were making some kind of strategic decisions on which direction to go with the business. And again, we'll kind of unpack that here today and have some fun doing it. So again, thank you for being here. Congratulations on a great run and story. I know that there's a lot of great things ahead for you and the team, including the new brand. Appreciate the swag.
Yeah, the Landscape Collective, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So for the audience, Jerry, I want to just start with kind of present day. What's the business look like? Number of branches, size and scale, and then we'll kind of go backwards and talk a little bit about your journey and kind of some different strategic decisions that you had to make along the way. But I think the audience maybe can't appreciate just your size and scale. So kind of just give an overview of the business today with some metrics and how it's built.
Yeah, I'll start out by thanking you for the nice introduction. It's always pretty humbling to sit back and think about the 35 years that we've been kind of grinding and building the organization. We're really proud of what we built. We're really excited about our new partnership with TrueArc, and even really more grateful to Argon Capital for the journey that they helped us create in terms of the institutional capital side of the business, but more thankful, more grateful, and appreciative of our team that kind of helped us get here, because without them, none of this would be possible.
Just an overnight sensation.
Yeah,
right?
35-year overnight success. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But in terms of the business, today we have 36 locations. We operate in 8 states, but we service work in 12. And we also have 5 locations up in Ontario, Canada. All very similar businesses. We are a maintenance-driven, maintenance-focused organization, providing enhancement and winter services, across all 36 of those locations. And then we have one facility in Cleveland where our flagship, our original branch started, which we call, it's our kind of our corporate back office, where we're managing payroll and all the other things.
Yeah. And so you're operating in the state of Ohio. What other states are you operating in?
Michigan, Illinois, Indiana, Kentucky, Pennsylvania, and we're doing work in New Jersey and New York, northern West Virginia, and like I say, up in Toronto, all the way over through London, back over to Detroit.
Yeah, and kind of across the pond there. You and I didn't talk about this at dinner last night, but I got way into playoff hockey. Big time, right? And so I know we got a lot of big hockey fans up there.
There was a lot of trash talking going on between the U.S. and Canada, yeah. Dave Lepp, who's one of our partners and a huge hockey lover of all things hockey and a coach today. He runs one of our largest regions as well. He was not happy with us in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, no, that's fun stuff. Work hard, play hard for sure. And as far as size goes, I know when you and I and Frank, we kind of started that initial process. You knew early on that you wanted to go out and find an institutional capital partner. We were at around $2 million in EBITDA at that time. And where are you today, just size and scale for the audience perspective?
Yeah, coming out of 2025, we were just shy of 31 million in EBITDA.
Yep.
Top line pushing 200 million.
Fantastic. Again, congrats on just an incredible journey for sure. So if anybody in the audience has been to Jerry's main facility up in the Cleveland, Ohio market, you have a great timeline that's on the wall that has various important points as you guys have grown the business. But I think the audience maybe doesn't know the full story, kind of going back to the days when you and Jim and Joe, you guys were kind of building the original Schill landscape, right? And then it was Schill Grounds Management, now Schill Landscape Collective. By the way, love the new brand and the name.
Yeah, thank you.
But take us back to the beginning, right? Because I know there's people in the audience that are, it's hard growing a business, and you come from some very humble beginnings, but you also had to make some tough decisions early on and with the direction of the business. So give the audience kind of the story and the background there.
Yeah, so I think it's important, and our executive assistant, Kristen, actually provided that timeline to my brothers and I, as a gift for, I believe it was our 25th anniversary.
Okay, yeah.
She just was always telling us we never slowed down enough to kind of like savor and really enjoy the moment and reflect back on what we were able to build all those years. So it was a really neat gift, and it was nice the way it was presented, because if you ever entered our office, it's an entire hallway dedicated to all the different milestones over the course of the 25 years that we had been in business. But you know, my brother Joe and I, he had started doing landscaping, I think, a year before I graduated from college. He was introduced to a local landscaper. I graduated from college, had a gap between graduation and starting my career, and decided that I wanted to kind of go do that short term, and really from that point on just fell in love with it. I love the entrepreneurial side of it. You know, it scratched that itch, and the owner, who was also a school teacher and a coach, it was a couple $100,000 business at the time, was really great about teaching us anything and everything we wanted to know. We were always, you know, athletes growing up, so we were always really focused, determined, and kind of driven. But also, we loved the creative side of it. You can show up blank slate, blank canvas, you know, start the day with a pile of dirt and walk away feeling really good and confident about what you were able to do. So he and I embraced that journey for the first 18 years. We were largely a residential design build firm. We had done a great job, developed a great reputation in the Cleveland market. We were on several of the magazine covers for the hardscaping work that we were doing, but started working with a lot of the industry consultants. Again, kind of that athletic mindset. We had always had coaches, wanted coaches. It was no different in business. We were working with all the consultants we were talking about last night, the Jack Mattingly, you know, the Kens and the Bens and the Jeffs and the Kevins and the Franks and the Jim Paluchas of the world and Bob Coulter. So we always had these influencers in our life, and were helping us continue to refine the business. And we started looking at the business differently and realized we needed to reduce our dependency on some of the construction. We were too one-dimensional. Yep. And I think that was in 2010. So in 2011, we had launched maintenance services largely for the first time in the 18 or 19 years that we had been in business up to that point. So we had seen really tremendous growth over the next couple of years. And that's when we really started thinking about this business in a box concept. I was really largely focused on the maintenance side of the business. My brother Joe was a great sales guy and loved the design build side of the business, and probably arguably operates one of the best companies in Ohio still. Yeah. Doing a lot of ultra high-end design build and pools and all the fun stuff.
Joe's had a ton of success. Yeah. He's had multiple events with institutional money. Yep. It's turned out good for both of you. That wasn't originally how things felt back in the day, right? As I know you're getting to that.
Yeah, Mom and Dad are a little bit more proud of us today than they were maybe 35 years ago.
There were some tough decisions there, yeah.
Yeah, so, and my brother Jim and I, who had come into the business about 5 years after Joe and I started it, were really laser focused on kind of this whole Jim Collins hedgehog concept, on really focusing on the maintenance side of the business. So in 2012, we made the decision Joe was going to go continue to do the residential design build under Green Impressions, and Jim and I were going to keep the business as Showgrounds Management and really focus on just driving and building a maintenance-driven organization. And we've done that to this point.
Yeah, it was a big reflection point there. I think difficult when you're in business with family, let alone kind of making a pivot strategically. I know those were not great times, and there certainly was some emotion involved. I don't know if your mom speaks. Would she speak to me at this point? If she, right? Because we kind of came in, we had to split the company. Joe was going one direction with Green Impressions and Weed Pro, and you and Jim were taking Schill and a residential model versus a commercial model. Those family get-togethers, there was some emotion there for sure.
Yeah, family is certainly far more important than business, and my mom always kept us all grounded. And Joe and I and Jim, we all get along. We're fine. And at the time, there was more internal than external competition going on. Yep. And, you spend 18, 20 years in business with somebody, and your passion, your vision, the direction that you're thinking about the business and your life and some of the things that you want to do, it's not bad. I mean, it worked out really, really well in the end because we all focused on the thing that we love doing. Yeah. And I think today, the businesses that we all run and have grown and built over the last 35 years are a testament to just doing what you love doing. And I couldn't imagine doing the design build and the construction side of it today, probably no more than he could imagine, cutting grass every day.
Yeah.
But I think that level of focus and, sitting down, having the discussions, making the tough decisions is really what has led to us being successful along our entire journey throughout business.
Yeah. And so once you made that pivot and really dedicated yourself to that commercial maintenance enhancement snow world, things began to quickly accelerate. And one of the things that I remember sitting in your office, I think it was with Kevin or with Frank, you began to put together and articulate that there was a set of KPIs that you wanted to manage to. You spent a lot of time refining repeatable processes in the business. And so you had this vision that you wanted to scale, and you began to execute on things that you felt like you could duplicate branch by branch, market by market, and now regional and maybe even national one day. Talk about some of the early KPIs and duplicatable processes that have kind of led to some of the success that you had, all the way back to that time frame.
Yeah, I'm an avid reader, not a great reader. I have trouble paying attention. So sitting down and reading takes a lot of effort and energy for me. But the one book that I read that really transformed the way I thought about business was Jim Collins' Good to Great.
Yep.
Jim Palucci had encouraged me to read it, and we had been working with them quite a bit. And I was really taken back on how this idea of simplicity is genius. And what we had built up to that point was this very complicated, very complex P&L that had multiple profit centers. It was just more and more difficult to manage.
Was it 6 pages, right? It was too much.
I think when we first hired Frank, it might have been 20 pages, and we weren't really good at managing any of it. Frank would come in 2 or 3 times a year and just kind of hold us accountable. Yep. But it really transformed the way I thought about the business. So over time, working with all the consultants, then we became more engaged and active in peer groups with Bob Coulter and some of these other folks, the Ben Collinsworth of the world, the Mike Wards, and several other people around the country. Also really shaped and changed the way we thought about growing the business, not just how we grew it, but what we wanted to be as we continued to evolve. And you can learn a lot, good and bad, from all of these experiences, what you want to be and what you don't want to be. I made a decision in 2012. I joined Vistage. I kind of left some of the peer groups. We'd used all the consultants, and our theory was let's engage with consultants, get what we need to get out of them, move on to the next consultant. Same thing with some of the industry specific peer groups. Joined a Vistage group, and also a transformational moment for me.
You're still in that group today, correct?
Yeah, I'm a very slow learner, 15 years. But it is amazing what happens when you have a big idea and you surround yourself with people that think differently, think bigger. I use the term level up. It is fascinating when you share those ideas and kind of your goals and what you want to do, how interested and involved and kind of supportive people will be to help you achieve your goal.
Yeah.
And really, it was the genesis of taking the business from, $3 million and doing maintenance in 2012 to the $200 million that we're doing today. They just always challenged us. Mm-hmm. There was always a big idea, you process issues, they come in and act as a tiger team when things aren't going well.
Yeah.
But they've always been a really good sounding board, and they've been an amazing kind of advisory board to me on this entire journey. So,
and I think when you started, you were the smallest business in that group.
We were. Jeff Tovar actually got me excited about Vistage, and then I met with Jim McCutcheon at one of the meetings with Dave Zerfoss, who became a master chair, and I was just really intrigued. But I loved the peer groups, I loved the camaraderie, I loved getting together and kind of looking at people's businesses. But there was something about going deeper and getting more professional in terms of the way we looked at and ran and thought about growing the business. So in 2012, I was asked in one of my Vistage groups, like, what's your goal? And I just kind of blurted out, I want to build $1 billion company.
Yeah.
And I knew it was, to Jim Collins, it was a big goal, but it was something that we needed to kind of get focused and aligned around. And every decision from that point forward was made in support of kind of achieving that goal.
Yeah, and then I think so fast forward 2020, maybe the end of 2019, you and I and Frank, we start to do some fireside chats. We start to speed date a little bit with potential partners and companies that would merge or acquire Schill. And then COVID hit. Remember, we spent a bunch of time, and then boom, COVID hit, and were we under LOI with Argonne?
We were. Had to go pencils down, I think, in March.
That's right.
The world shut down.
Locked down. I'll never forget, I was in Jacksonville, Florida, and there was like 2 people on the plane, and the hotel that I was at was like a zombie apocalypse, and we met at this hotel, and there was basically nobody there. It was kind of freaky. I hope we don't go back to those days. But so you decide through process that we're going to partner with Argonne Capital. Once you got into that institutional world with Argonne and team, what was the cadence like? What were some of those aha moments? What were those nuggets where you said, well, I didn't see that coming, or you said, hey, I gotta be a better CEO? It's not easy, right? Like our favorite saying together, we were laughing at dinner last night.
Deals are hard.
Deals are hard.
Yep.
But when you say yes to institutional money, there's also pressure and expectation of performance. So in those early days, as you were getting used to having a partner in, what was that cadence like, and what lessons were there in the early days?
Yeah, I think we need to back up, because there was almost a decade of work that went into building this $1 billion business. And we built a simply elegant business. We were making tall grass short and piling up snow, and those were the only things that we did. We stayed laser focused. It allowed us to standardize our equipment. It allowed us to standardize the type of positions we needed to hire for, et cetera, et cetera. So in every aspect, we kind of continued to refine and optimize the business. The goal was to build a highly scalable, highly portable business that we could take from one location to multiple locations around the Cleveland market. That's how it started.
Right.
And so we kind of tested out our proof of concept in Cleveland. We went from 1 location to 3 locations. And then to your point, we had called this whole project kind of our business in a box. We didn't know what to call it.
Yeah.
We weren't sure if it was going to be a franchising model or if it was going to kind of just be a maintenance-driven organization where we would just land and expand and do greenfield type of work. But so we really spent a lot of time being thoughtful, extremely disciplined. We stayed very entrepreneurial, but very focused on who we wanted to be. And when we started thinking about scaling outside of Cleveland, I quickly realized with working with you and Frank and Kevin and everybody else at the time that it was, one, a lot more complicated than I had initially given it credit for, because a lot of the folks in my Vistage group were either buying or being bought, and then you started to hear some of the stuff in our industry, private equity and institutional capital starting to come in, and it was a lot more expensive than I anticipated. And we were fortunate that the business always did really well. We were sitting on a pile of cash, but the banks weren't interested in lending us money to go do acquisitions.
To go acquire. Right.
Yeah. So we had, flagged a couple of opportunities, and the natural progression was to start looking at institutional capital, put the book together. So we went on that whole journey, but there was this whole 10-year buildup to get to that point, staying very focused and disciplined, embracing technology, making sure that we're doing all the blocking and tackling that needed to be done. So what that roadmap was about creating value.
Yeah.
We had, learned over time that, buyers, investors were interested in scalable, portable businesses, highly recurring revenue. And that was the stuff, those were the things that we focused on. So in terms of the business today, yes, we continue to operate using the same KPIs we have since 2012. We manage labor on every single level like a hawk every single day. Whether it's labor efficiency, utilization, warranty work, training, we're tracking every minute of every day of every hour of labor that we're paying for. We're also tracking all of our enhancement sales activities. It's much higher margin work.
Yep.
The attachment rates is something that we track on, how much for every dollar are we attaching in terms of enhancement dollars. It's also, again, to what I just said, driving a much higher gross profit margin profile. So we're tracking those things, and we're all the behaviors that go into making sure that we're doing all the things that we need to do to drive the revenue. And then the other thing that we've done and done really, really well over the years was track issues. Issues aren't always bad. They have a negative connotation, but when you handle issues properly, you can create raving fans with your customers. So those are the things that we're doing every day. Those are the things that we're still doing and looking at every single day. Technology and automation has made it easier to get that information, but keeping it simple has, I think, been the secret to the success that we've been able to kind of encounter up to this point.
Yeah, really well said. I think you and I've talked some about this. I think when you think about cadence of bringing in some institutional money, I think there's a couple things that we see has to be enhanced, and you were a little bit farther along than some. I always felt like you had a really great front end with your organic growth strategy. You retained clients well, so you had a high retention rate, performed good quality work, but you also built a pretty nice sales machine on the front end. But I've seen that as institutional money comes in, there's a higher premium put on month-end close and quicker and being able to turn data with the numbers. I think the thing that I think about the most is a lot of companies still spend a lot of time managing the business in the rearview mirror. And when you get into a world of bringing on a partner, an investor, everything's forward looking. So your ability to forecast where are we going to be, where are we going to land, kind of see things coming. Was that a shift for you? You were less about month-end close and what happened previously. You had 14 or 15 KPIs, right? Manage labor, but you had to ramp up your ability to forecast. Did you not, or no?
We did, and we embraced technology early. If you think about it, until institutional capital came into our space, 15 years ago? I mean, we were looking at tech stacks like Clip on a floppy disk. and Excel sheets, and then it became Access, and there were some automation tools along the way, but we've always embraced the tech on the front end of it. We knew that in order to build a scalable, portable business, we were going to need to manage from afar, and you can't do that without information. And data is a new currency.
Yeah.
It's amazing the lengths that we go to today as an organization to harvest the data. We need to make better data-driven decisions in real time. And, bringing in and building out a tech stack is only half the work. Actually leveraging it and using the data that you're mining from it is really where the magic happens. So many people have amazing data packages and do nothing with it.
Yeah.
Like, how are you using the labor metrics every single day to drive the change across the business and improve margin? That's the stuff that I think that we've done a really good job of. In culture, we've surrounded our people with like-minded people, and that's the win for them every day. Is how do we get better every single day?
Let's talk about deals. So I think this morning when we were catching up a little bit, you've done maybe 20 or so deals, right?
21.
You've acquired 21 companies, which means you've had to integrate 21 companies. Talk a little bit about what you've learned, kind of the first 1 to 3 deals that you did as a buyer and then had to acquire and integrate dynamics with people, former owners and sellers, and then give the audience kind of today a little bit. You shared with me recently some of the integration talent that you've put together. So when I say deals are hard, and you and I, keep going back to that, which they are, those early deals, what did you learn? Doing
deals are hard. And Jeff would say that to me every 5 minutes.
We got to put it on a t-shirt.
Yeah,
right?
Doing deals are hard. And it really is. And it truly, it's not for everybody. We had goals, we had objectives, and we knew that to accomplish them, we were going to have to do some of these things and embrace it. I will tell you, the first few deals we did were actually really fun. We had no idea what we were doing. And of course, we didn't tell anybody that at the time.
Sure.
But we really didn't know what we were doing. And because of that, it forced us to immerse ourselves in every detail, right? Both the technological side of the business, the financial side of the business, the operational side of the business. So we were highly engaged, really in the weeds on all of these deals, not just myself and our team, but actually the partners that we aligned ourselves with, the Mike Wards and the Todd Pughs and some of these other folks that we had locked arms with. But so we were all learning on the fly. And then you start to layer in some help and support, some third-party tools and resources. And I guess in a way it gets easier because you don't have to do all the work. But it's like anything else. Like, you start to separate a little bit from that thing. And for me, and this, and a lot of the folks in the industry that I network with on a regular basis, the culture side of the business is really important to me. And some days it doesn't feel like it's a priority, but it's always been the priority for me. And it gets hard, and you have to settle in some instances or some cases on what's good enough.
Yeah.
So for us, it's always been about the continuous improvement. We're leveraging the support system. We're leveraging third-party resources. We're leveraging our partners on all the integration aspects. The business was getting bigger. We were kind of moving away from the center of it a little bit, but now we're kind of back into this next phase again, where we're re-engaged, realigned. We're asking our affiliates and our partners, like, what can we do to be better? So as a result of that, we recently hired a vice president of integration and optimization. It's not enough to just go do a deal and get them integrated, but how do you optimize that business? That's really the value proposition with us, right? We're bigger, we're better, we're stronger together. So we're actually adding resources today, integration resources, where think of a team that's just going to come in and spend an extended period of time post-transaction, not just getting you into our tech stack, which is what integration was early on, but actually teaching you and showing you how to use it effectively, and really optimize your business. Because at the end of the day, that's what we want to be. We want to be an extension of your business. We want to be a partner and a resource to remove some of the barriers and obstacles that you've seen to growth. So we want to make sure that we're building the foundation within that business and supporting it the way you intended.
So your integration team, you have, I think, Chris Poggi, right? And talk through there. So you have a leader, right? A quarterback. and just walk through that structure. If you would.
I think we brought Chris in September, October. She is our vice president of integration. She's got a tremendous track record. She was with Aspire for several years and responsible for integrating enterprise level companies into the Aspire ecosystem. But she's an amazing quarterback. She's a taskmaster, a project manager. She is kind of the single source of truth for us as an organization. She's out working with our new partners, the affiliates, and making sure that we're doing everything we promised we were going to do during diligence.
And then you have a series of specialists on her team.
That's
right?
correct.
Talk about that.
Yeah, there's financial integration professionals. We've got the business side, the operational side of the business professionals, not just come in, but actually show you how to integrate Aspire in kind of some of the SGM way, if you will, the Landscape Collective way, on how to run the business, the expectations, the reporting, the KPIs.
Yeah.
So not just give you the software, but teach you how to use it and apply it in the business. And then we've also got some Aspire experts on staff to make sure that the tech stack is set up, built out the right way to support you and running the business the way that you've run it for years, but just better.
Yeah. So technology and systems, accounting, finance, et cetera, operations, and again, one single source of truth with Chris on leading that team. You and I've done a number of deals where we've sat across the table, right, from each other. There's a lot of emotion involved. We were talking at dinner last night on how unique each deal is, and everybody throws out the culture term, sometimes going in and measuring EBITDA and looking at KPIs and operational efficiencies and Q of E, like that's the easy part, but it's all the soft stuff, case by case with emotions, employee emotions, seller emotions. Talk about that. What have you learned there in trying to gauge or hedge the soft aspect of deals?
Yeah. So quality of earnings is pretty black and white. Yeah. It's a financial statement, and numbers are numbers, and that's the easy part of it. Going through business diligence, understanding, what they do, how they do it, when they do it, who the players are, also fairly easy to understand and straightforward. The hard part in doing the acquisitions and partnering with new affiliates is the emotional side. You're working with owner-operators, similar to myself. We all work for ourselves for a reason, which typically because we're unemployable.
Never had a boss before.
That's right.
Want things done a certain way.
That's correct. So, yes, you've reached some milestone or some reason in your life that you want to start thinking about a transaction, whether it's retirement or business continuity, whatever the case may be. But there is this excitement around being able to take your life's work and monetize it and really be rewarded for what you've built over time, and take care of your people that help get you there. But people underestimate the emotional pressure that you are under when you're doing that. Mm-hmm. I mean, it has become your identity, your purpose. It's so many things, and navigating the emotional side of a transaction has been the hardest and most challenging part for me, as a founder and an operator as well. I've gone through it. Yeah. Although it was my decision, my plan, I wanted to build an organization that was going to continue to grow and scale, not just talk about creating opportunity, but actually go do it. There are things that I can and can't do, right? That's part of having a boss. And when you are partnering with institutional capital, whether it's a strategic like us or a True Arc or an Argon, like our current partners, right? There are rules and responsibilities and things that you're allowed and not allowed to do. And so that's been the toughest part. I think we do a good job of trying to understand that. Because I'm a founder and an operator, we put all the work in on the front end of these deals. Sure. We are not interested in jamming deals through, because that's when things kind of get sideways. We really truly want to understand you, understand your business. What are your goals and objectives? Who are the players on your team? Because at the end of the day, this is all people. Yeah. Every owner tells me that the number one priority is their employees, and number two, it's their customers. Yeah. Right? And making sure that you are in lockstep and aligned on those expectations is critically important to the long-term success of the business, because it's going to be bumpy. Integration is hard.
You and I have talked a lot about this. I feel like outside of purpose, balancing time and capital, if I'm sitting in the seller's chair, you're sitting in the buyer's chair, particularly now given your experience and size and scale, you're really dialed in to value creation. You're really dialed into the formula or the playbook that you know with your partner, and through scale, that you got to deliver a return and you got to deliver liquidity to the folks that are writing the checks and backing you. And I find that sellers, they don't necessarily understand the 8 levers of value creation. So you kind of get into this sometimes emotional conversation with former founders and sellers on, hey, Jerry, you're not doing it right. That's not how we do things from a culture perspective, or that's not how we execute. But that's coming from a place, as a seller, of this is what's worked with us previously and how we've built a business. And now there's an institutional element around value creation and around execution and playbook and certain levers and drivers. You've experienced that, right? Like, you've had some tough conversations with founders and sellers in your organization. You've also, I always tell people that, it kind of takes a year. When our sellers transact to a strategic like yours, it kind of takes a year for them to find themselves and kind of get back on equal footing of where do we go next, because they're used to being the decision maker, right? The guy. And you've had some hand holding there. You've had some flat out no's, right? And certainly on 21 deals, you've had to deal with sellers and founders before. Fair?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And the good news is a lot of these folks, a lot of our partners, our new affiliates, have been friends because I've known them throughout,
sure,
the 30 years we've been doing this. And at the end of the day, we agree on more than not. From a values perspective, we have always been aligned.
Yeah.
The day-to-day operational sequencing of the business or the services we're going to provide is where we tend to kind of get into button heads. And it's like, we are interested in building. To me, it comes down to the quality of the earnings.
Yeah.
Like, yes, you can make $1 doing this today, but can you make $1 tomorrow and next month and next year doing the same thing? If it's not repeatable or scalable, then it's a distraction for us. So we're not chasing shiny objects. Since 2012, we have stayed laser focused. Even if you look at our business model, the discipline that we exhibit even still today, we say no to a lot more deals than we say yes to, because we're either not aligned from an owner's perspective, or the business mix doesn't make sense, or they're not invested in their people enough. But even if you look at a map and look at our footprint, like we started in Cleveland, and as we built the infrastructure, made the investments in the business, we then from a very disciplined perspective, started to expand. Today we're in the Mid-Atlantic and all over the Midwest and in Canada. We're not in Texas and California and Florida. We can't provide the level of support that's required for these new partners. I think that is where ego can get in the way of success. And what happens is it creates pressure, it creates strain on the relationship. And we want to make sure that our business model, we're there to support our affiliates. And I will tell you this, we have not figured it all out. Yeah. We have just as many issues and challenges today at 36, locations with, 1,800 employees as we had when we had one location with 50 employees. Yeah. But we are willing to put in the work to get better a little bit every day.
Yeah, that makes sense and well said, I think. All right, I want to pivot and kind of stay on this theme. There's a lot of talk around what model works with scale. And I'll give you an example. Kind of back in the days, there was a lot of talk around decentralized business model, letting branches make decisions versus a centralized business model where everything's happening, let's say, in the ivory tower at corporate. And you and I have talked at length with size and scale, having good leadership, good org structure and processes where you're trying to, at each branch, still have the outcome and the performance branch by branch, right? The bigger you get, it's harder to touch everything. Each branch actually performs and meets certain standards and criteria. So you have an interesting approach with what you centralize or keep decentralized. Can you talk about that structure a little bit?
Yeah, so we've had the luxury of seeing those that have come before us and what they've done, what's worked, what hasn't worked. And so our approach, and I'm not saying that this should be something somebody should go out and duplicate, because it comes down to your culture, your business plan, your investment thesis, all of those different things. So you have to do what's best for you in your organization. For us, we want to execute on a very corporate-like business model. Decisions happen in real time at the regional level. We believe heavily in building out a regional framework. So we don't have the capabilities or the manpower or the desire to come in and run every single branch. We have partnered with really good businesses who have really good teams and a really good customer base, and they've built tremendous brand loyalty and brand equity in their markets.
At the local level.
At the local level. Our goal is to come in there and help standardize and optimize what you're already doing and doing really, really well, not to come in there and make it look like SGM in Cleveland.
Right.
Our goal is to come in there and layer on the resources you need to 10x your business. So we have adopted a regional framework where our region, think of a Southern Ohio or in Indianapolis, in Dayton as an example. We've got 8 locations. We've got a regional team, regional finance manager, regional operations manager, HR, compliance. We've got talent recruiting, right? Because if you're going to grow your business and you're going to grow sales, you need to grow people. And we've got our business development resources, our sales folks in those regions. Those regions are empowered to make decisions every single day. They build their budgets from the branch level up, and they build out their SG&A structure from the branch level all the way up. We are there to help hold you accountable, right, and provide the resources you might need if something goes awry, or you need more capital to kind of take down another acquisition or invest in capital expenditures. So we're giving the regions the power to make those decisions. There is a reporting structure, there's an authority matrix, all kinds of fancy buzzwords, but the people that need to make the decisions in real time have been empowered to do that.
So sales decisions, budget decisions, again, that stuff, recruiting, HR, that's happening, regional down, right, where you're still empowering those branch level decision makers with support from a team in that finance area, as an example. And that's different than your entire C-suite team sits in Cleveland and tries to dictate what happens market by market, sitting in Cleveland, for example.
Yeah, and culturally that doesn't happen, because like our C-suite is on the road all the time. Like you have to be out and see what's happening at the branch level so you can really help influence change. The regional model was also set up in my mind was the key to success for us is to build better branch managers, right? Yep. We want to create opportunities. We want to build the future leaders of the organization. You can't do that unless you invest in people.
Yeah.
You can't do that with 4 or 5 senior executives trying to coach, train, develop, and mentor, 40, 50, 70 branch managers. Our branch managers have access to all the talent that they need. So by default, they are being groomed into better leaders, better versions of themselves. They not only sit down and build their budgets at the branch level and sit with their operations team and help schedule and coordinate and make sure we're pacing out to hit our budgets, right? They are being taught how to use a P&L and how to use the operating system and all the other data tools that we have to make better data-driven decisions. And by default, they are becoming better leaders.
Yeah.
So that is the reason that we've got these folks, these resources at the regional level, so we can continue to develop and train the future leaders. Branch managers become regional leaders, regional leaders become executive level leaders, and they're going to take over and run this company someday.
Yeah, yeah. It's working. It's working.
It's a work in progress.
Yeah, yeah. Where do you spend your time now? Scale over $30 million in EBITDA. You got decisions that you're making with your own executive team. You're still an operator at heart, right? You and I have talked at length about, hey, you're still that operator that likes to get in the weeds. Like, what's your pace like? Are you doing town hall meetings? How often are you at branches? Direct reports? Just talk about how you balance your time. Obviously, M&A takes a good bit of chunk of time because you're still involved in that. You also got reporting and meeting and cadence requirements with TrueArc, your new investor. Like, how are you divvying up your time, or where are you spending time?
Yeah, it's an area that I continue to work on, but I've actually struggled with.
Yeah.
Used to be able to keep my arms around everything, and by default, everything seemed to run better, more efficiently. When you get to scale, there are areas that you have to say maybe certain things are good enough.
Yeah.
And I know that can come across or sound kind of weird, but like 90% is better than never getting started in some cases.
Yeah.
I spend a lot of my time still on trying to attract talent.
Yeah.
We have an amazing executive team all the way down through the vice president level, and we're giving them the tools and the resources they need to be more successful. I'm doing, I think, a better job of not meddling like I used to quite a bit. But you have to evolve. You have to change. That not just the business, not just your new partners or your affiliates or the branches and the way they're operating. Like, every individual on that team needs to change and evolve, or you're going to die. Yeah. So I'm, again, a lot of time spent on talent, obviously on going out and evangelizing and telling the story of the business, and doing some of the M&A components, but also the vision and the strategy. I still love what I do. I still believe that we can do everything we set out to do. I want to make sure that we continue to do it the right way, and that's with people, not through people.
Yeah. As you've grown and scaled, you've had to build a team, particularly at that executive or C-suite level. You've also had people retire. You've had people that you felt like you've outgrown. Just talk about, with scale, continuing to have the right people on the bus, sitting in the right seats with, experience to move towards, hey, you're $30 million in EBITDA today. You want to go to, $90 million of EBITDA in the model? And the same people that probably took you from 2 to 10 to 30 or whatever, right? You've had to make some upgrades. You've had to make some tough decisions. Talk about just people, because obviously there's an emotional pull, and folks that have gone to battle with you, but you also have an obligation to move towards 60, 80, $90 million in EBITDA. Like, talk through that side of the business.
Yeah, it's part of the evolution, and it's natural. I think you hire the right people at the right time for the challenges or the needs you have in the moment, and you leverage those folks as long as you can. We all have an expiration date, even me. And we need to be thoughtful about that, and we always need to be thinking about business continuity and succession planning. I'm 56 years old now. I'm not going to work forever.
Yeah.
I want to stay engaged. I want to stay involved, but the company needs a new leader at some point in the future.
Right.
I don't know exactly when that is yet, but we're thinking about it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't change all the way down through the operational level. Not everybody is going to want to be on the journey with you forever. I actually think it's easier. Some of the folks, some of the more senior level management positions, everybody understands kind of the intellectual capacity and where people are, and they understand kind of where they're going to help you get in terms of value creation, and then it's time to step back.
Yeah.
And I think that's a testament of a true leader, is knowing when to say, we need to do better, or we need to insert somebody here that has a different set of skills than dealing with folks that don't want to go. And, we avoid kind of like sunsetting along the way. But all that being said, the people quotient is the biggest challenge. I am a very people-centric individual. Culture means everything to me. You want to cherish every ounce of energy somebody's put into helping you grow the business alongside you. But I think it's important to understand when that may have run its course. I think it's actually more challenging to have to actually leapfrog somebody who stays in the organization. Mm-hmm. That's been an interesting kind of dynamic that I've been faced with over the last 4 or 5 years. We've got great people that have been with us for 15, 20 years that are in the business today, but now they have a new boss.
Yeah.
They couldn't make that next step.
Yeah.
Or they didn't want to.
Or they were content and
yeah.
So well said.
Everybody has a sweet spot, and not everybody has an appetite to grow and scale and be disruptive as some others, and that's okay. You need good soldiers on the team.
Yeah. When we put the Argonne deal together, right, your first institutional partner, there was management equity, there was some profit interest, that sort of world. How gratifying has it been to help change people's lives financially with the folks that have come along on the journey? Because again, we've always been an industry of salary, bonus, incentive, maybe a little bit of profit sharing. But you had shared with me as part of the recap process really some transformational dollars that were paid to your team and to your leaders, including returns for former sellers that rolled equity. How gratifying has that been? Do you think about that? Hey, if I didn't meet Jerry, where would I be from an economics perspective? We're still in an industry that's hard, but just talk about profit interest, management equity, and the impact that made when you're distributing checks or wiring money above and beyond just you, the founder and CEO.
Yeah, in a lot of cases, it could be life-changing money. And I think the only thing better than getting it is giving it.
Yeah.
It's actually a lot of fun. It's why we work hard. These plans that we've put into place, and these are some of the learnings that, I didn't know what any of this stuff was before we partnered with Argonne.
Yeah.
We used to play word bingo, PE word bingo, trying to figure out how to speak their language. But they are tools that you use to hire, inspire people while they're there, because they earn every penny of the money that they make, right? And then really help seek out and source the future leaders of the organization. That's how you motivate people. Not everybody's motivated by the sheer dollar, but knowing that you can reward them for their effort and the work that they put into helping grow the business and changing the lives of people that work with them is what makes this thing all fun. That's why I still get up every day and do it. I've been fortunate and blessed that I'm in a position that I can do whatever I want with my life, but I don't find any greater joy and satisfaction than getting up every day and trying to make this thing even better than it is today.
Yeah, I mean, you've distributed hundreds of thousands of dollars. You've distributed millions of dollars, right? People that have gotten checks for, millions of dollars that, otherwise it's not even an option in the space. So, congrats on that. It's pretty transformational. So, let's talk about the industry today, right? There's a lot of buzz around AI. There's a lot of talk about robotics. We were talking at breakfast about battery powered. You still need people to show up and do the work every day. What are you talking about internally with kind of the next big wave? Is it really just AI and what that means for SaaS and systems? How do you feel about battery? How do you feel about robotics? Is it making an impact on the P&L and in the business? What's your sense there?
We've always been very proactive and we've always led from the spear, the top of the spear, but not the tip of the spear.
Okay.
There are a lot of people that go out, early adopters, they're going to lead, they're going to go all in early on. I'm a little bit more conservative in the fact that I need to see the case studies and see the numbers, not the vendor's numbers or the manufacturing numbers, our numbers. How are we taking those tools, those resources, whether it's, autonomous mowers, whether it's, the robots, whether it's AI, it doesn't matter what it is, the cameras in the trucks, all of these different things. I want to see how it impacts our business, because one size doesn't fit all.
Yeah.
And we've done a great job. My brother Jim is actively involved. Jono is pretty passionate about some of the technology advances that are happening. We're doing them. We're using them. We're proceeding with caution. I think the big challenge is not a matter of if, but it's a matter of when, and more about when they become more commercially available.
Yeah.
For a company or an organization our size to really go all in, it's tough for these manufacturers and suppliers to really deliver the number of resources that you would need to actually do that.
Yeah.
And every market's different.
Yeah.
The cultures are different. Some people embrace it more than others. In Canada, they love battery and, some of the robotic stuff, and other markets here in the States, they don't want anything to do with it. But I think since institutional capital has come into our space, the amount of technology in whether it's software or even the development of equipment, the way we move snow, the way we melt snow now, we don't have to move, we just melt it. But the learning management systems that are out there today, all the technology in terms of software, we produce payroll for 2,000 people with 3 or 4 people sitting in Cleveland. I mean, it's incredible what you can do with it. I think it's important to continue to embrace it, continue to, make sure you're preparing to change.
Yeah. Even like some of the chemical side with growth inhibitors and just some of the things that are happening there. You've always challenged your team. You were talking to me at dinner last night around if somebody wants to make that investment, they got to put together a work paper and prove out the economics, to you.
Yeah, you get on social media. The only social media I've ever been on in my life is LinkedIn, but I'll get on there and sneak around a little bit. But you hear all the buzz about all these things, and I believe it. And I think it's really important for us as an industry to really embrace and adopt some of the changes. But I also think from a leadership perspective, as the CEO of the organization, there are so many demands for capital, right? And there's no greater use of capital than investing in our people. Yeah. We need to make sure that every dollar that we're going to go out and invest and spend, that we can support it with a legitimate case study and how it impacts our business, not everybody else's business. Yeah. The dynamics in the Midwest are very different than California and Florida, so it's not a one-size-fits-all solution.
What's new with customers? Are they same old? Is it communication? They want to be communicated with differently? Is it access to data? Like, what's new with customers? Still above and beyond, does the property look from a quality perspective and, and agronomics and that sort of stuff? Like, what's new with customers? Are you seeing anything interesting with customer trends?
I'm definitely more removed from it today than I ever have been. But as a consumer, right, I still want to know that if I have an issue, I've already made the decision to hire you. I knew the price, I knew the price points of your competitors and whatever. I just want to know that if there is an issue, that somebody's going to take care of it, which is why we track issues the way we do in our organization. So that was an area, like when Kevin was still alive, we constantly talked about, all I ever wanted to talk about was issue resolution, because we would have these issues and we had a sundown rule and how we were going to deal and treat people. And a lot of times customers just want to know that you care. And I don't think that has changed that much.
And that's a big time nugget. I mean, I've had a lot of people sit in this chair. You're the first guy that's talked about speed and issue resolution and it being like one of the top KPIs, right? I hear enhancement penetration. I hear, budget versus actual labor. But just that issue side of it, and things tend to die on the vine, right, with issues.
It takes years sometimes to get a customer. And you can lose them over the silliest thing, a rock going through a patio door or, scratching a car. A client had their window open in a parking lot and grass blew in it. It just happened to be a dignitary, and it wasn't that you caused any significant damage, is they just wanted to be heard.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important. And we try to instill that in our account management team. We're even going as far as to layer on more support across the regional level to even work with the customer or our account managers on the customer experience, the customer journey, how to prove that. Palmer, who's our VP of marketing, we brought him in. He does have a first name, just nobody knows it.
Yeah.
But he's the one that helped us kind of come up with the plan, the Landscape Collective, and it's about our employee experience and our customer experience. Like, what are the things that we can do? How do we come together? Like, identify the issues or the areas where there's friction and create this business model that reduces as much of that friction as possible. And the collectives played a big role in that culturally for us to kind of start thinking and acting like one.
Yeah.
Even though we're a house of brands, I think we're 12 different brands today across the Midwest and Mid-Atlantic, but we're having conversations, we're thinking the same way, we're trying to do the same things and accomplish the same goals, right? Deliver a better customer and employee experience.
Yeah, it's really well said and interesting. You're getting a lot of phone calls, right? Given you're out there, right? Congrats. I just saw you on the cover of Landscape Management magazine, you and Jim. You're still active. You have a number of CEOs within the industry that you guys interact with, and it's not about business. It's just fellowship and that sort of stuff. We've talked a lot about the young CEOs that are in the industry now that have grown up over the past 10 years with this institutional money, M&A, multiple liquidity events. It's very different with some of the young, great CEOs that are in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. You and I chuckled. It's like, hey, I'm going to grow one customer at a time, one employee at a time for 50 years and then retire to my tree farm. Now we're talking about, tens of hundreds of millions of dollars, and it's certainly more competitive out there. You shared with me that you've enjoyed mentoring some folks in the industry and learn a lot. Talk about that.
Yeah, I think it took us 2 years to hit our first million. I don't even know how long it took us to hit our first 5 million, but these younger folks are coming into the industry today, and they're doing that in a year.
In revenue,
2 years. Yeah, top line revenue, $5 million in a couple of years.
Yeah.
And doing amazing stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's really fun to see. I love going to the NALP events, the Aspire events, all the industry-related events, and seeing all the youth kind of coming into the industry today. It's super assuring. And we talked a little bit this morning. I told you I love Justin White and what he does. He's great for our industry. He evangelizes. He's lifting everybody up. But there's a guy that took a business from basically nothing to $25 million in a few short years.
Yeah.
So I think it's a testament to that if you align yourself with the right people, hang out in the right circles, right, and you embrace the technology and all the modern amenities that we have at our disposal today, that you can build any type of business that you want. Yeah. And I caution people all the time. We're a maintenance-driven organization. Like, we're commercial maintenance. We're focused on recurring revenue. That doesn't mean that everybody's business should look that way. Yeah. Build the business that you love, that you're passionate about. And if you find value in what you're doing, that's all that really matters at the end of the day. I do believe every business should be built to sell, whether it's to your children or your employees or private equity or other forms of institutional capital. At some point, you're going to need to extract your net worth out of it so you can retire. Yeah. But I would just caution people, build the business that you love.
Yeah. And you're working a lot of hours too, like this concept of scale, and you're working 40 hours a week. Can you just debunk that myth on sharing with people how hard you're working and what that commitment is, as a CEO with an investor?
Yes, I'm a serial entrepreneur and also very big on self-awareness, and I have a lot to learn. Even running a company the size that we have, one of the things that we're really proud of is we stay disciplined. We get a lot of looks and a lot of opportunities, and we say no to a lot of them because we want to make sure that we maintain the culture that we have today, and we want to make sure that we continue to produce some of the best margins in the industry. That's what's important to us. But it requires a lot of effort, a lot of energy, and it requires most of my time is spent helping other people, whether it's managing some of the emotional baggage, right, or psychological kind of warfare that's going on in a seller's brain, or we're promoting or elevating employees, or having trouble with an employee that needs to go on a performance plan. But there's all these things that come at you every single day. You surround yourself with really good people, but there are just certain things that have to rise up to you. I take those responsibilities really serious. I probably meddle more than I need to be honest. But I tell you all the time, joking around one-on-one, is like, I have always run scared. I do believe somebody's coming. Like, so these younger generations coming, and I don't want them to catch me on my watch. So I've always taken the mindset nobody's going to outwork us.
Complacency, right? If you look at the great, we're big football fans, right? We were talking about Signetti and Nick Saban, right? And talking about complacency. As soon as you feel like you've arrived, or you allow people to not operate at the standard that you've set, complacency moves in, and then results tend to fall. A lot of parallels in sports, with business for sure. So, well, again, congratulations. Awesome story. I know that people can find you out there. Thanks for coming in, and really appreciate our time together. Yeah, and I appreciate all the help that you've given me, and the guidance and mentorship over the last 20 years to get here. Sounds good. Thank you, Jerry. Thanks. Best of luck moving forward. Enjoyed it. Thank you. Take care.